Hello, everyone. This is Kerwin, and welcome to another episode of Travel Talk. And today we're going to be talking about when you get to the airport, make sure you check the flight information display for your new departure gate. Let's go. So, a friend of mine posted something on Threads, and she was basically asking, what do you use to check your departure gate when you get to the airport? Whether it is that you use the app, use the flight information display, etc. And of course, whenever somebody asks a question like that, something happened. And so I said, so what happened? So apparently she got to the airport, if I understand it correctly, and the app told her the gate and the boarding pass told her the gate, and they both matched. And I think she looked at the flight information display and it matched, but for some reason the gate had changed. Now, I think the airport she was in, I think I know which airport it is, the terminals are apart. Like, this is like going to Australia where the international departures is on one side and the domestic is on the other side and the runways is in the middle. And you got to take a bus to get from one end to the next, and it's not quick. And so in her case, it was in Australia, but the terminals are far apart. And so she had to like hustle to get, or he had to, I think it's both of them, but they had to hustle to get to the terminal on the other side, barely getting on the flight, like 10 minutes to spare or something like that. So let's just, go through what happens with the gate information. I sigh because it's a real problem. In the days of apps and checking in online and stuff like that, prior to that, the airline, the airports figure out that each airline is assigned an area of the airport that's theirs, which is why sometimes you get to the gate, the airport, and the gate's occupied. Like I was in Austin recently and on an American flight, came in and we waited about 27 minutes to get to a gate because the flight that was departing was delayed. And we had to wait to get our gate uh, because the flight was delayed and they don't have anywhere else to put us. So you just sit there and you wait. These gates are assigned, pre-assigned, and there's a ground control operations at the airport that works for the airline. And there's also dispatch at the headquarters, and they all work together and make sure everything seems seamless. So the pilot can't willy-nilly, let's say E4 is empty, but he's supposed to go to E5. He can't willy-nilly say, well, I'm going to go to E4 because there's probably an airplane coming for E4. There's passengers waiting inside to go out on that airplane. There's also baggage things that are set up for E4. And so if he decides or she decides to go into E4 instead of E5, that creates a lot of problems. So they don't do that. So they coordinate everything. Meanwhile, you're sitting on the gate, on the tarmac, waiting to get a gate. So everything is all coordinated. And as another example, I was in Charlotte when I had my the wheelchair debacle, and we're at the gate. We're at B. We were supposed to be at B4, then they switched to B3, and then they switched to A21 or 20 or something like that. And so all that stuff is changing right there at the airport. Now, my boarding pass said B4. We never even left from B4. We left from A. And that had already changed. Now, the boarding pass, the app that you have in your hand may not get updated right away, even after you refresh it. But the airport will get updated. You will see the update on the board. Now, I was also at a Hawaiian flight coming out of LA, and it showed that my flight was delayed, and it was even 12 hours later. And that was information that was on the airport information display, which should be correct, but it was very incorrect. And when I called Hawaiian, they didn't have that information. They're like, we're leaving on time. When I checked with the agent at another gate for Hawaiian, she said, no, we're leaving on time. And so the information on the board was incorrect. And then she told us, so tell me what gate we're leaving from. So I know it gets really difficult and it's very frustrating because sometimes the pieces of information that you have that's supposed to be correct is not. And it creates a very tense situation. Because like in LA, we were in the 200 gates. And Hawaiian, they leave from the 200 gates, but they also leave from the 100s. And in the new Bradley terminal that they created, it is probably like a mile and a half between the two gates. Like you leave one gate and you get to the center. Then you go down and you go downstairs and you walk like forever. And then you get back to the center of the 200s and then you have to walk to the end of the 200s. So you're basically going like oh, what's that? A horseshoe shape to get to your gate, and it's super far. So I totally understand, when the gate is incorrect, it makes everything wrong. So what's the right thing to do? Normally the app should have the correct information, but sometimes the app doesn't get updated immediately. And so when you get to the airport, you should check the board, and the board usually have the right information. In this case, it was incorrect. And they couldn't find an agent to ask who it is. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll look at the boards. As soon as I come through security, the first thing I do is go look at the board. Does it match my app? Yes, it does match my app. I'm usually flying with airlines that are a little more reliable. And so the information does match. But sometimes when the airport piece doesn't match, like you can't even call the airport. There's nobody in the airport to talk to and say, look, that information that you have on there is wrong. Fix it. There's nobody to talk to. Because when I was in LA, I was trying to do that. It just didn't work. Matter of fact, they have a phone number on their webpage, and I tried to call it. Nobody answered. There was no courtesy phone for me to pick up and talk to anybody. And so it was frustrating because it was early enough that there weren't any Hawaiian agents around, so, which is why I called the airline themselves. And they were surprised and they didn't know. But they're in Hawaii when I call them and they're reservation agents, they don't know what's going on in LA. So oftentimes it's very, very difficult to get the right information. But the app should give you one thing you can do, you can go to the website because sometimes the application that they're using on the website is not the same as the application that's run in the app. Or the app, the app is sitting on a server somewhere and that server is down and it's not being updated properly, but the website is updated. So then what I've done oftentimes is go to the website. Sometimes when I can't check in on the app, I'll go check in on the website and it works. So one thing is go to the website and check if the gate is correct. Because and sometimes when you get your boarding pass for your connecting flight, it'll say, we don't know what gate you're leaving from yet. Check when you get there. And so as soon as you get off the plane, there's normally an agent, which is really good. And the agent has a list of all the connecting passengers, and they will tell you which gate you need to go to. They normally stand in there, they don't say anything, but they have a piece of paper in their hand. And you can always ask just to make sure that you have the connecting gate. Because if you're in somewhere like Dallas, and Dallas, I connect to Dallas all the time, and you'll arrive in like A, and you have to go to E or C or D. It's not easy. You can't walk. In some of the terminals, you just can't. Some you can, but most of them you can't walk. And you have to get on this train, and the train it goes in both directions, but it takes forever. And so if you have like a 20-minute connection and you've gone in the wrong direction, you've missed the flight. And then when you miss the flight, you go to the agent, they're like, you need to go to customer service. And when you go to customer service, there's a long line. And so it just snowballs. So it gets ugly. So the best thing to do is to look at the app, make sure that you refresh it if you can. If the airline you're flying with doesn't have an app, then look at the board, the departure board, because that's your next thing that you can use. You don't have anything else. Or if you can go to a customer service desk and speak to an agent, or which is always annoying because you may not have enough time to do all that. Or if you can talk to the agent at any gate to say, look, this flight, I don't see it on the board. Can you tell me what gate it is? And then you'll be able to tell you. If you're a frequent flyer or not a frequent flyer, but if you have access to the club for that particular airline, you can go inside the club and ask them, and they'll more than likely tell you. They won't run you out. They'll just tell you what gate you should go to. So it's not a definitive answer, but check the app, check the board at the airport, talk to an agent if you can, and those are probably the best ways to do it. Make sure you refresh the app, and if the app doesn't work, go to the website and see if you can do it. There is flight aware and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't really tell you the gate that the airline is leaving from, so you can't really use that. So I hope this helps, and hopefully, you won't get stranded somewhere because you can't figure out what gate your flight's leaving from. So this is currently Travel Talk. Have a great flight, and get to the airport early. Because sometimes that's what I do. I get to the airport super early, but then sometimes you get to the airport super early, and they have a different gate, and then later the gate changes. Yeah. But anyway, that's all I have today. Talk to you soon.